What's going on, family? Welcome to a new episode of the Seez Monroe Show. I am your host, and today we're here to talk about The Nun 2. So The Nun starts off, we're in France, and this boy and this priest are in the church doing chores. That sounds like a horrible start of a joke. But nonetheless, this is what's happening. They're doing chores, and then the boy is told to go fetch the wine for the communion, right? He goes to do that. As he's fetching the wine, he kicks the ball into the corner, puts the wine on a shelf, and then that ball rolls back out of this dark corner. He kicks the ball back into that corner, and that's when I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting on something horrifying to happen. But behind the boy, that's when the wine vase breaks. And this is when I was a little pissed off, because this was a perfect opportunity to start this film off right. But I digress. The boy then runs to the priest to let him know what just happened. The priest is then lifted into the air and set on fire while this boy is holding on to this rosary. Now remember the rosary, guys, because we're going to get to that point a little later in the film. Fast forward, we meet up with Sister Irene. Now Irene is the sister from the first Nun film that pretty much saved us from this situation. Remember Maurice, the guy that went to go save her? He's the one that ends up getting possessed. The reason why we know that is because the first Conjuring film back in 2013 kind of released this information. And this is a prequel, so we should know these things. So Irene is called to help the church in this situation because she defeated this demonic being before. And obviously she didn't. I don't know why they came to her with it, because obviously it's still around here moving. So either way, none of my business. We go find out what's going on with this demon, what the demon is looking for. We obviously see the demon is going on this trail, and we find out that the demon is possessing Maurice. Again, us as the consumers of these films know that Maurice is possessed, but in this film, they do not know this yet. So once they find out that the demon is using Maurice to get to where it needs to get to, and later on they find that the demon is actually looking for the eyes of St. Lucy, which for some odd reason they're not explaining why the demon needs these eyes. But again, as consumers, we know that the demon is going to get these eyes because we've seen the other films. I just want to stop right here. Reason being is this is the reason why you cannot milk a prequel. We already know about the situation with Maurice. We know about where the nun comes from, or the demon Valak comes from. What else is there to tell? And then you go on and say, hey, these eyes, that's why these eyes are so important, so on and so forth. But you don't explain the eyes in this film. I'm guessing that we're going to be saving it for another film, but sometimes you got to give a little bit more to keep us engaged in these type of things. Back to me explaining the film. So this is when Irene and her friend Deborah go and finds Maurice pretty much wilding out. And they're explaining to Maurice like, hey, you're possessed. Maurice doesn't know this because I guess when he's doing certain actions, he's either blanking out or he just, I don't know. That's not explained either. And I'm even more confused explaining this than I was when I was watching the film. Either way, the demon then takes over Maurice. Maurice then attacks the girls. Later on, the demon gets the eyes of St. Lucy, obviously, and somehow through a prayer, they were able to turn all this wine into the blood of Jesus, and pretty much took over Valak's plan and defeated him. But again, we know he's not defeated as consumers because we know that what's happening or what's going to happen in the future. Maurice goes on to live his life with Kate, which is the one of the sisters at the school that he worked at, and we later find that the father calls the Warrens to help out with another situation later on. Now, I gave this film a 5 out of 10. The reason being is it kept me entertained, right? It wasn't the greatest horror film. It wasn't the greatest film. It wasn't Shakespearean. We're not looking for that. We're looking for the jump scares, of course, but we're more so looking for that story. I feel like the plot was weak, but it was so much better than that first Nun film, I had to give it credit. If that makes sense, guys. Like this film honestly could have been a start of something else. It's the 9th film in the Conjuring universe, and I'm already getting fatigued. And another thing, I don't feel that we need a Conjuring universe. What Marvel has done is made people feel like they need this universe thing so their films would work. A couple sequels, and you do a reboot in a decade or two. Like, that's normally how horror films go. But with the Conjuring universe, it's not like they're doing a terrible job, but I would say pass up on the first Nun film if Nun 2 didn't come out. I would say that we could have passed on The Conjuring 2. I feel like we could have passed on The Conjuring 3. The first Annabelle film was horrible. The prequel was great. The sequel was good as well. But I feel like right now they're tilting towards bad. You know what I'm saying? At first they were average, but as these films keep coming, it's not working as good anymore. Right now, I feel like they're suffering as far as the writer's room, not just because of the writer's strike, but more because no one's doing anything new in Hollywood anymore. That's why Talk to Me was like such a breath of fresh air. The writing, the cinematography, just the feeling of that film was phenomenal. I haven't seen a horror film like that and ever. I feel like they did a phenomenal job. And these are two guys from Australia that's YouTubers. They're not even filmmakers. They're YouTubers that later became filmmakers. They did a phenomenal job. And I feel like that's what we need in this game right now, new blood. And that can take this genre to the next level. That can take cinema to the next level. It's time, guys. It's needed. All right. I appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Seez Monroe Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys next time. If you've seen this movie, go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments, what you felt about it. Do you feel like I missed anything on this spoiler review? Because honestly, I don't want to get too in depth into the film. I don't want to say everything that happened in this film, but I'm giving you the key points. And pretty much that first beginning of the film, I only explained that the way that I did because that kind of pissed me off at the beginning. But other than that, I feel like the movie was okay. Go check it out if you haven't. If you've seen the first film, you obviously have to see the second. And if you're into the Conjuring universe, you obviously got to catch them all. Pokemon reference. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. See you next time. Peace.